Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. That is, absorbent hygiene waste. So I'm going to talk to you tonight about how many people have changed a few of these disposable nappies. You don't need to, your new age dads or harassed mums, but also adult continence aids. So you probably think, how do we get into recycling this icky, smelly waste stream? So I'll tell you a little bit about it. We're basically going to set up Australia's first large-scale recycling plant for absorbent hygiene waste. Now, I've been in the waste industry for about almost a decade now, mostly running and developing recycling facilities, run transfer stations, landfills, construction demolition facilities. 3 years consulting engineering for a large waste infrastructure company in Melbourne. Worked with the state government there, and as well, I'm a father of 2 daughters, so changed a lot of nappies in my time. And absolutely understand some of the issues that nappies and continence aids cause in the waste stream. So I'm going to talk to you. We're raising $1.5 million at the moment in return for 15% of Relivit. That'll get us ready for our construction funding round later in the year, so we can build the plant and get that open by the middle of next year. Okay, so how much absorbent hygiene waste is out there? Some of you obviously probably know what a small nappy is. You might know what a big nappy weighs. I'm here to tell you that Australia generates just almost 500,000 tonnes a year of this waste stream. So 70% of it, a lot of it is nappies out of the household, but it's also pads worn by adults and elderly residents in the household. And that's our big growth phase. But really what we're targeting at the moment is the commercial streams. So we know absolutely now in Sydney is that Greater Sydney, from Newcastle down to Wollongong, potentially out to Canberra, generates over 100,000 tonnes a year of this material. 22,000 tonne of that comes from commercial streams, from your aged care and from the sanitary waste providers, people like Pink Hygiene. And my colleague John Nolan over in the corner is our sales manager, and he's got a superb pipeline as to how we service that commercial waste and how we provide that service and get that supply. Now, give an example of what 500,000 tonnes a year looks like. It would actually fill the ANZ Stadium twice to the top every year. So imagine sitting there watching your NRL game. I'm a Melbourneite, I'm a Collingwood fan, so I can show you a picture of the MCG, and most people then go, oh, well, could you bury the Collingwood cheer squad? But that doesn't go down very well in Sydney, so given you beat us last time, you buggers. Anyway, just to give an example of an overhead shot there, essentially that 500,000 tonnes a year would fill the MCG to the top twice. Now, what it also does is it generates significant carbon emissions. So with the carbon tax, with constrained landfills in Sydney, Sydney's actually going to run out of protestable landfill space in the next 3-4 years. You're going to be shipping a lot of your waste down to a landfill at Woodlawn, where some of it will be recycled, but we don't think that's the best idea. We can actually compete with landfill prices in Sydney and with that Woodlawn landfill. So what we're aiming to do is reduce the carbon emissions, keep the costs down for those waste generators, and build the first plant for this waste stream. Okay, so all the waste goes to landfill at the moment. Some of you would have seen the sanitary bins in female toilets. Hoping many of the gentlemen in the room haven't been in those female toilets and seen them. But anyway, so people like Pink Hygiene, ISS and the like would be taking that female hygiene waste off to landfill. And obviously in aged care and nappies from household also goes to landfill. But what's happening in Sydney is you're seeing a massive increase in landfill costs. So this is the customer pain. Just before the carbon tax came in, 1st July last year, Sydney siders were paying about $200 a tonne to put their waste into landfill. That's going to increase over the next 5 years by 50%. So people like Pink Hygiene, like the aged care sector, are seeing this large increase in their waste disposal costs, and they have to be looking for a viable recycling alternative, and that's what we are. Now, because of that, because of the constricted landfill in Sydney, and because of these increases in prices, the New South Wales government is using some of the landfill levies, essentially a tax on landfill, to fund waste infrastructure. $466 million grants package got announced 2 weeks ago. 60 million of it is to go specifically to recycling infrastructure projects like Relivit. And the rest is for councils to work with us on grants as well. So in terms of raising construction funding from both debt and grants and equity, we've got a very strong message. The timing's right for customers, we know where the funding's coming from, and we know we've got a viable recycling alternative. So what we do, once we've offered a service to commercial waste providers, aged care and sanitary, is that we see our growth into the residential sector. So at the moment, you've got your 3-bin system. We'll be putting the food into the garden waste bin in the future. That will be picked up weekly, but you're left with the nappies sitting in the red bin for a fortnight, and nobody wants that. So actually, we're an enabler. By offering a service to households on a weekly basis, and we can actually help councils enable getting food and more green waste out of landfill. All we're offering is a service to 1 in 10 households. It's not every household. It's a small bin. And we've got now 12 councils working with us who represent 25,000 tonnes a year of this waste, who are dead keen to do trials and roll those into 20-year contracts. So what we actually do is we take this material. I've mentioned the services from dedicated bins at aged care, childcare. We receive the waste from washrooms and hospitals, and we take that to the plant. We do the household collections as well. As Steve mentioned, we've got the licence for Australia and New Zealand from No Waste. They've got the only large-scale commercialised recycling technology in the world. That's currently operational in Birmingham, processing about 30,000 tonnes a year. We've got some examples of the products that they turn that material into. At the plant, it gets sterilised in an autoclave, separated, poo and the wee goes down the sewer, and we're left with the wood fibre, the plastics, and the superabsorbent polymers. That's the powder that holds the moisture into a nappy. We can sell the fibre to be made into paper and cardboard, and we've got a deal we'll be announcing in about a month's time with a major paper manufacturer. We already have a deal with a plastics manufacturer, make it into construction materials, and the new development, our own IP, not from No Waste, is to reclaim the superabsorbent polymers to make into things like flood protection and spill kits, selling for about $4,000 a tonne, which is just magic. Sorry, what I should say is just there. So essentially our waste suppliers pay us on the way in, and our material buyers pay us on the way out. This is myself and Mark Dunn, my co-founder. We were lucky enough to get some publicity in The Age just before Christmas. Mark and I met through studying for the Masters of Entrepreneurship at Swinburne. Mark's got a 20-year background in heavy engineering and chemical engineering, so he's the technical guy and responsible for basically delivering the plant and the commercial systems. We've been joined by our chairman, one of our Keystone investors, Graham Van Dam, who's invested last year. He's got a background in infrastructure, a successful entrepreneur in his own right, and has a portfolio of investments. Neil Bone is critical. He's the founder and managing director of Waste Tech Engineering, built a number of transfer stations, recycling facilities, and they're managing the design and construction management of the plant that we open next year. John's here, joined us a year ago. He's doing a fantastic job with our sales pipeline and getting the customers in the door. And Clark's our lead engineer, who'll actually build the plant when we're ready. What we've done so far, we have 14,000 tonnes a year in our sales pipeline out of the 25,000 of commercial streams. We've got 5,000 tonne of that under letters of intent. We signed our first contract with Southern Cross Care last week, a small amount, but all the other large leading aged care providers are banking up. We've got agreements for the plastics and soon the paper and cardboard and SAP. You can see we've finished our concept design. We have a plant location. We're negotiating there. And we will be making an announcement in the next couple of months on that. So essentially what the $1.5 million will pay for is to make sure we get that break-even tonnage. We need 10,000 tonne a year to break even, so that when we open the plant, we're cash flow positive. Then we grow into that council sector, and that's where the profits start ranking up. Obviously, we need to get the contracts for recyclables, 10-year contracts, develop that funding strategy, gain the debt and the grants, so then we know exactly. We'll be raising about $5 million of the 10 later in the year for the construction funding. Secure the site lease, do the detailed design, and the development approvals, which the current round of funding will pay for. We know how to do that very well. So it's a 9-month plan build. We'll then be open by middle of next year. Quickly, the revenues, essentially in year 5. Now, we're not going to build just one plant. The growth opportunity here is to build plants across Australia, 3 or 4 in larger cities, New Zealand into Auckland, and then Southeast Asia. So potential investors in the audience who might have links into Asia, we're very keen to talk to you about getting into some of the Southeast Asian countries. But a single plant will process in year 5 about 30,000 tonne a year, make $16 million in revenue, $7 million in EBITDA. You'll see majority of our revenue comes from the domestic market, quite a bit from the fibre, which is locked down, and the plastics, and there's some split there in terms of the commercial streams. Very healthy net profit, which is almost 30%. Variable costs mostly around the collection, and some of the labour there. I've mentioned our break even, but really that growth is into the council sector. We can't attack the council sector until we've actually start broken ground and the councils can see that this thing is going to happen. So we're commercial first, then councils. And we're looking at appropriate returns at the moment. We're into our round 2 investment. We're looking at returns of about 35 to 50% for investors that come in the next few weeks over a 5-year period. Okay, key points. We will provide a service to aged care facilities and sanitary that basically match what they're currently doing. We've got the sales pipeline, the licence, what I want to just get to, yes, was the exit path. So trade sale, it's not just one plant. People like CETA, Trans-Pacific, Veolia, very well-established exit path at some point in the next 5 years, obviously with multiple plants in Australia and potentially into Asia. And last but not least, we've raised about $1 million so far. Construction funding, I've mentioned, we've already received an R&D tax incentive. We've got some strong possibilities for grants and debt, working towards equity later in the year. And we will be going live on ASOB. Looks like we've closed on our round one, $400,000 in the last week or so. So we're now into round 2 of our ASOB listing, which will go live in next Friday. So encourage you to come and talk to us afterwards. And if not, I'll send the boys round. Thank you.